Tony Jimenez. But Carlos, the very first episode here. Something new we're trying out. Want to see how it goes. First and foremost, we're here because of course, Carlos. One of his biggest ideas was this movement that he's bringing, empowering men together. As you can see, EMT. Let's go ahead and start it, Carlos. Let's see.
There's some big words to fill right there. Movement, huh? Going on, everybody. Carlos. This idea came across over some time, reference to empowering men together. I think just the title in itself speaks in volumes in reference to what I want to create with this group. It's a support group for men. I think it's really needed right now in this environment and this climate that we have currently. It's something that we're lacking, and not just the area that we live in here in Whittier, but just in society in general. And coming up with the idea, it came upon just everybody has their groups right now. Everybody has something that defines them and that they hold on to, and something that's meaningful to them. And thinking and just living everyday life, I always wanted to know what was going to be my defining role, something that I could grab onto and really fall deep into something positive, something for everybody. And coming up with this idea, I thought it was really needed and in our time right now and the culture that we live in. So that's where I came up with the name Empowering Men Together, because I wanted it to be something strong, something that we could all, see and define with, and create a culture to where we help each other out and empowering each other in a positive way, not just men in general, but society and the people that are around us.
Yeah, I hear you. I still remember the day you were at the gym and you approached me. Hey, I had this idea. We live in, had this idea about, making this group, all these men, and I was like, dude, I was just thinking about that. And I'm always in my YouTube videos,
Yeah.
motivational stuff, and I think it just touched me. I think it was just at right time, and then me knowing you, we're always talking before the gym, doing our men talk, but man, I think men just need this in general. I think not just going home and dealing with life. There's a lot of, I can even say for your personal experience, sometimes you're yourself. You're in traffic by yourself, you're toxic with yourself, and you're always doing things to yourself. And I just think, sometimes it's something that men need. We're using this space. I think if, we had our very first meeting, which we can talk about a little bit, but I think this is something that, that can definitely benefit, not just men in the professional world, it's all men, absolutely.
And that's funny that you mentioned that. I remember when I first brought it up to you, I couldn't even get the sentence out, and you're on it, like literally. It's been something I've been wanting to do, something I've been thinking about. And it's funny because everybody that I brought this idea up to, this topic to, I couldn't even finish what I was going to say, and they were already on board. They're like, say less, let's do it. Whatever you're going to do, let's do it. And just seeing that feedback, that immediate reaction, that just motivated me even more to get it done. I'm horrible at not finishing things. When it comes down to my tattoos, when it comes down to a lot of things, I don't complete the tasks that I do. And, when I'm at home, and before I put the announcement up or even set anything up, that was one of my fears. I was like, I can't not finish this. I cannot not put it, get through that finish line and setting this up. So, just that motivation, speaking to you guys, and you're my number one guy to go to, because you are that guy that would send, but still to this day sends me YouTube motivational links and little memes and stuff like that. And I'm not one big into like YouTube and podcasts and things like that, or motivational speeches and stuff like that. So having you put that, feed me that information and stuff like that was really the reason why I knew you would be perfect for this, to help me get this rolling. You guys are going to meet Coach Rich as well. Another guy that he fits the mold to what I want to build EMT around. I know he has a ton of ideas, and just the way he lives his life is exactly what I want to put out there. So, it's funny that you said that.
Yeah, going back to Coach Rich, thank God I get to see this. You're going to be here today, but you definitely be with us on the next podcast. I'm in every one of his classes. He's a great speaker. He owns the room. He expresses I tell them after every class, it's, great job. Sometimes, I mean, just the stuff like that, it's good to hear. I mean, we don't, I mean, just going back to the whole empowerment or, empowering men and stuff like that, so, we do a lot of things that, sometimes men don't get that. So sometimes we need that stuff. I mean, the, motivations. But, I mean, I get it. I mean, I get it. We all have, we all come from the old school way. You're the man, and Anyways, before we get into that, all that good stuff. I mean, let's talk about a little bit about our background. I think that's something maybe people want to know.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about EMT. So I have a bunch of different names brainstorming, coming up with it. The main thing I wanted to put across was empowering, empowerment. I want us to be as men to feel comfortable being strong, and empowering each other to be able to feel free to be who you are. The good and the bad. Not everybody is 100% good. I'm definitely not. But I want people to understand that, especially men, that you need to empower yourself and have that confidence to be who you are. And a lot of men don't have that. And, maybe it's society, maybe it's the way they were raised, or maybe it's the way things are now these days. But like you said, we're old school, It's okay to be empowered and empower yourself and be confident. You know what I mean? Of course, it's a men's group, so empowering men. And then together was a big one for me. I wanted to do this together. I want men to be able to come together and beat that stigma that we're in this by ourselves. You know what I mean? I'm the prime example of keeping my circle small and being by myself a lot. Yeah, I have a beautiful family. I have a beautiful wife. I have my kids. Um, but before that, and this is going to get to who I am, I've been on my own since I was 16, 17 years old. I moved out. My parents were drug addicts. My family were in and out of jail. My brothers, my siblings, addicted to drugs. My older brother locked up for life. So when I left when I was 16, 17 years old, I was by myself. So I know the definition of trying to survive and live this life alone. You know what I mean? There wasn't this type of support group growing up. The only type of support groups that were out there were like court order support groups, rehabilitation centers, NA, AA, things of that nature. They're good. They're great for what they do, but there wasn't anything for those that weren't in those categories that a man could go to and be like, hey, you know what? I feel kind of emotional right now. I feel kind of lost or by myself right now. Am I the only one like that? And having this group, I want people to feel comfortable being able to express themselves and be their true selves. Don't fake. You know what I mean? Don't pretend. Don't try to hide the strongness in you, the machismo, if you want to say, and I'll get some bullet points. Masculinity, we'll talk about the difference between like toxic masculinity and positive masculinity, things of that nature. So that's why I came up with the group name EMT, Empowering Men Together.
I mean, not only that, don't forget about the shoulders back, head up.
Absolutely.
You got to throw that out there.
The motto of the group, shoulders back, heads up. That originated. I told the story before. I don't know where it came from. Maybe when I coached football. But as soon as I had my first son when I was 19 years old, Alec, I would see him slouch around a little bit. As a kid, you don't have that confidence, or you're looking down.
I mean, only that bond, it's not a good way. Yeah,
absolutely. And it was it's something that used to annoy me. I don't know who taught me or where I was raised to always walk with my head up. You know what I mean? Shoulders back, head up. And that's something that I always, when I see my son walking around, and even to this day, when I see my daughter, hey, walk around with confidence. Put those shoulders back. Always keep your head up. No matter what the situation is, when you walk in a room, walk in with confidence. So I thought this mantra would be absolutely perfect for our men's group. I want men to be able to walk into any room, any situation, like they own the place. Not cockiness by any means. And any negative form of fashion, but more of confidence. Walk in there with those shoulders back, your head up, like you're ready to go. You're ready to, fill your environment, step to the level of the people in your room that are with you and have that confidence. And I think that's what the main thing is confidence.
Yeah. I mean, not only that, like you said, it's empowering a man, but it's also empowering young adults. I mean, I think we talked about our first meeting. We had a special guest there. He brought one of his, I think it was his godson.
Yeah.
He's trying to show him the way, how to grow, how to be a man. That's another thing that we want to do, right? We have a lot of, kids, they are raised without a dad, right? That's, so that, that's I'll get to my history as well. I think that's something great that we can show, just small things that we can just, we have little things. Hey, throw the back heads up. Hey, make sure you have small change in your pocket. You never know, respect women or,
Always
maybe
wear clean underwear.
it's not, it's not clean, flip it inside out, whatever.
Yeah.
So, I think that, just, I guess I just transitioned to, or, a little bit of my history, well, first, after you told me about the EMT, that hit me, directly in empowerment. Yeah, I think it was just something that I was like, that's amazing. I've always wanted to make a group. And then, and I was like, as soon as you asked me, and I was like, of course, I would love to be in this venture with you. This is something that hits home. I grew up with all dad. I met my dad when I was, 18 years old. I met him once. I drove to Tijuana. My cousin went with me. I met him for 1 hour. The first thing he'd say, hey, son. And I was like, how you doing? Yes, I shook his hand and I was like, hey, it's Julio, and I didn't tell him that because he was a stranger. But but that has nothing to do with the way I was raised. I was raised by all women. My grandmother, my mom, my sister, my tias. They all I was raised. It was all women, and then I was there.
That's where the nice guy comes in.
The soft side, but but and the same thing. I was raised, in the hood, L.A., 51st and Avalon. I had just it was a rough going, but I was blessed. I was go to school. I got robbed. I almost got shot. They took my watch. It was just rough growing up. But I think this also can show. It doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter where you're in, right? So we're not saying that the ending, but we are in a lot better state than we were years ago, right? We also want to show. Also empowering men together can also be something like I know there's somebody's struggling, but there's always somebody, working or struggling more than you, right? That's the way I see it. I came from LA and then I went to Linwood and was struggling up. I remember, growing up and I had food, a couple of noodles for the week and it was just, it's rough. And then I see where I am now, right? I have a good job, I have a family, I have a business, I see, now I have the means that I can help others, right? And that's where I want to do also in this group.
So you with your dad in that situation.
It's
So you met him
once, yes. I met my dad once, and um, it was weird. I was supposed to be there for about 3 days. I was there for about half an hour. In TJ, it was just weird. It was hey, how you doing, stranger?
Who's up to you?
My cousin.
Your cousin?
Yeah,
Okay.
my cousin. When my cousin took me, my cousin Junior. He took me, and then it was weird. Came back, and then after that, I didn't talk to him for about a year and a half. I don't know what happened. My mom and him and everybody else, it's his story, their story. But I don't. Long story short, I really don't hold grudges, even though I didn't meet him he was till I was 18. I'm still signed for his papers. Right? So I still, he's my dad. I got a citizenship.
That's crazy. That's crazy how we just go back to that. He's our dad, or
Our dad.
that's our mom.
He's our blood.
You know what I mean? So we have that innate instinct to have to, no question that we wouldn't do it for strangers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just that instinct, it's something. Sometimes people, I think I have. Sometimes I have too big of a heart. It kind of gets me in trouble. But that's just the way, and then But then you also have your rough side. You have to have your rough side. You have your family. You got to protect them. You got to know when. You got to know how to be good and bad. That's something that.
So that's the reason why I asked. So what happened? Did he stick around? Did he?
Well, he lives in Mexico.
Yeah.
Yes, he lives in Mexico, and I ever since then I've seen him once. He came after he got his paper. He came back. I took him to my grandma's house for about an hour, and I took him to Marisco, just him and I. And like I said, it was weird again. It was me and him standing in front of me, looking at me like we are right now. And he was like, "Hey, son," and I was like, "¿Cómo estás?" "Hey, ¿cómo estás? Yo mucho gusto. ¿Cómo mañana?" And then it was weird. But anyways,
The reason why I ask is because this is who defines you
Yeah.
as a man, you know what I mean? And this is where the core of all this comes
Yeah.
from. Like my story is it's pretty similar to what you were just explaining. That's why I'm interested because in future topics we'll talk about what defines a man or how were we raised to know what being a man is, you know what I mean? So you were raised by the women and they did an amazing job. Like congratulations to like everything that you've done. Your parents, I've met your family, everybody, they're amazing. but it's intriguing because like where did we learn all this stuff from, and where did you know where did we get it from? And that's why I asked because same thing when I left my dad left when I was 7, right, and it was just my mom trying to do the best she can, stepdad and stuff like that. Um, but when I had my son Alex, and a lot of this goes back to that time period, I was 18, 19 when he was born. I didn't have a big family.
That age.
Man, I didn't know what I was doing. I was on my own, working at Burger King, bro. I was like,
When you're 19.
man, very selfish, very immature, and just worried about myself at that time. But what I knew, and it's crazy being a man, what I knew, what I didn't want to do was be like my dad. You know what I mean? So that's how I would raise my kid. You know, I like, dude, I didn't have a dad there. I didn't have a family. I don't want my son to go through that. So when he was born, I went and found my dad. I went and found him, and I searched out for him, and I was able to find him.
How'd you find him?
I kept in touch with one at his sister, one at after I moved out and I was on my own. And every once in a while I would talk to her and she would give me like little updates of where he's at, what he's doing. So I reached out to her when my son was born because I wanted to change my history, my last name. I wanted to change, you know, the toxicity and all the baggage it came with. And I went to my older brother and I went to my dad and I told him, hey, like I have a son now. I want to change the last name I get. I want to change, you know, what we're about. I want it to be strong. I want to help out my mom. So, long story short, I went and found my dad when Alex was born. So I was like 19, 20 years old. And same thing, awkward situation. It was, oh, you know this, you know, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I told him, first thing I told him, I was like, look, you don't have to apologize about anything. Life is life. You know, I don't care about what happened. I know my mom didn't make it easy on you, you know. I'm here now. I want you to meet your grandson. I want him to know my side of the family. I want him to know who you are. And it was all like lovey-dovey, you know, at first, but then, you know, like, you signed for his papers. He asked me to borrow money. I gave him some money. I didn't hear from him since. He took off and he was gone. It didn't hurt because I didn't expect much. And I was just like, oh, I knew what it was. Back to my grind. You know what I mean? So that's why it's interesting hearing the story because it's like we were raised without that experience, that father in our life and stuff like that. And again, you came out to be a tremendous man. You know, like you said, you had a business, beautiful family. You know, um, I'm getting started late on a lot of stuff. You know,
Yeah, but look where you're at now. I know some of your background, where you came from, like, you now, you know, beautiful family, you have a good job, you have a business. I mean, yeah, I think that, but that just goes to show, you know, it's men come from everywhere, right?
Yeah.
You know, I came with all the dad, and you came with a dad, but then they never found him, and then but you know, I was raised by women, you know, everybody is different. You know, some guys have, you know, a dad has been with their whole life, and then, you know, maybe they hit them or abuse them when they were young, and then some have the dad that don't do anything, and they just grow up to be the best ever, right? I mean, like you say, I don't know where I got my father figure from. I think maybe just, you know, maybe with a couple uncles, my great grandpa. He was 105 by the time he passed. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, man. I think that's something that we can definitely carry with us. But
well, I like where this is going. It goes to the topic. So we talked about EMT, the idea where it originated from. Um, I think right now our first meeting went really well. We have a lot of people that, you know, are excited about it. My main focus and our main focus, I think, is just keeping that energy and keeping that excitement in there, you know what I mean? And having our guest speakers and stuff like that has worked out really well. Want to make sure that I let people know that I have a gym. A lot of the gym is different type of, you know, people. Everybody in there. I love every single buddy. You know, I don't hate anybody in particular. And I don't want people to think that this is any type of group that we are in a negative space or discriminatory or anything like that. It's on the contrary. I want this to be the biggest advocate for every other group out there. When I talk about empowering men and male masculinity, it goes back to being a dad and talking to my kids, my son. So I'm pretty big. I'm 6', 6'1", about 200. I'm trying to get down to about 240, low 240s. I've been pretty big, you know, my whole life. And one thing I always did was I used to be the one to always talk to the ones that couldn't defend themselves. You know, whatever category you want to label them as, the weak or the not popular ones that high school, I was cool with all of them, and I took care of them. The people that I was close with, I took care of. And one thing I always tell my boys is use your size and use your strength and your knowledge for power. Do it for good. Don't be a bully. You know what I mean? Take care of those that can't take care of themselves. You know what I mean? So that's what I want this group to be. I want this group to lead the way. So when it comes to different, times of month, there's a category, all year round for something. You know what I mean? Mainly like when it comes to like Women's Month. You know what I mean? I want us to be the lead to help prop them up and build them up and put them out there. I want us to support them and support everybody. Empowering men to empower everybody else. Just like you said, we have our kids. I want to be able to empower men to be the best in their community, best in their family, best in whatever that they're doing. You know what I mean? And be strong. So that's what I want to get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, like I said, I think at our first meeting that we had 30, 35 were on there, and we had a great group of guys, and I think they also felt, a stage. I mean, not really. It's not really. It's our meeting wasn't really like a place to go band. It's just people, it's guys hanging out. Right, we hung out, had some good food, had some good speakers, and
Well, there's a couple guys in there that minute. Yeah, they stuck around a little bit, and
yeah, but I don't want, people don't need to see this as a therapy group. Right? It's not a therapy group where man being man. We wanted to do, we want to take advantage of everything. Maybe go out, have an outing. I mean, I know this weekend we're gonna go support one of the fellow group, one of the members in our group. And, yeah, just what you said. Just go out to the community. I mean, there's like, the business that I own, it's mostly involved around seniors. And the one thing that I asked was, we don't ask for money. We do that for time. Yeah. There's a lot of seniors out there that, by themselves. It's something that we can get back to the community, and it always comes back to us, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think as being men, we should be more into that charity work, into more helping the community and helping, all our friends and family members help their business thrive. I know it's hard, especially, fathers, work. Things are different now. Things are different. Women are just as busy. My wife is extremely busy.
Yeah.
She's nonstop go. You know what I mean? And I have to catch up to her a lot of the time. But being the anchor and holding down the fort and being able to, help your company, the senior citizens, those people. Whatever happened to the old school days when you're in the Cub Scouts and you help that old lady cross the street? You know what I mean?
You don't see
you don't see that these days. Guys we're selfish. You know what I mean? We're worried about making money and worrying about ourselves and stuff like that. And all that sensitivity and all that loyalty and compassionate gets lost. You know what I mean? Because we're so wrapped up into the game and trying to be strong and just work hard and focus ahead and everything is like there's a blinder on and you just miss a lot of that other stuff. So that's why I like what you do. I don't know if you see in airline business if it's more woman based. You know what I mean?
I mean, it is. I mean, obviously, most of the caregivers women based. Most of the people that look out for the seniors women based. But I mean, definitely, a lot of them they need help on the house and help, just simple stuff. I mean, but not only that, not only just from seniors, just even going to boys and girls club and playing with the kids. A lot of kids, in the foster home, they want to utilize it to get back to the community. This EMT group, I think there's different layers, there's different layers. I think the way you're setting it up to grow, the way you see the vision to, the way it's going, the way I see it, different layers. You have, you can help people find jobs. You can have, hey, somebody needs a contract. They use one of these guys for a discount. Hey, let's support this group. Hey, this guy's struggling to school. Hey, let's go push him. Hey, he needs a resume. Hey, this guy needs a job. This person needs this. I think there's just so many layers that we can utilize it for. And at the end of the day, also, like we say, empower us together. Somebody just wants to sit down and talk. Hey, we're here. Something's going on. I'm struggling with this, struggling with that. I think that sometimes guys they don't reach out. I'm the same way I close out. I'm very close minded. I'm always, like I say, I'm always in my zone. I get home and I'm just in my zone. And I think this is something not only good for everybody else. I think it's also good for me. I talk to you all the time. Yeah. And you see like a little bit more personal life for me. The same thing for you. I know some of your personal stuff. So I think it's healthy. It's healthy to open up.
I love that you brought that up. Because that was my main concern when creating the foundation of EMT. Empowerment can look so many different ways to so many different people. And I was brought ideas and reference where I should target it as. Is it going to be sober living? Is it going to be emotional therapy? Is it going to be this, that, and the other thing? I stuck to my guns when creating the foundation of EMT to make sure that I didn't get stuck on one category.
Yep.
I didn't want to label it as mental health or as a veteran group or, service members or, emotional therapy, sober living, anything like that, because I didn't want to exclude anybody. If you're a man, I want you here. I don't care what walk of life you're in. I don't care if you're currently, a drug addict right now and you're not at the best point of your life. You're welcome to come in because this is what EMT is. It's a support group and it's going to be basically a database for everybody for us to leverage each other to help us be better as men in our community with our families, whatever situation they're going through. Hell, I've been through so much of my life, and if I had a resource where I could go to Julio, hey, I'm going through this divorce, or I'm going through this, child support thing. Do you know any family laws or anything like that? Hopefully, we get big enough to where we have a database, a collection of members that specialize in all these areas to be able to leverage each other and help each other out. I'm struggling through this. I need maybe to speak to somebody. I'm not a therapist. I wouldn't know where to begin to help anybody out when they're going through like emotions and anything emotionally. But hey, I know so and so. He's a member of EMT. He's a good guy. I'll give you his information. I'll introduce you to him at one of the meetings. Boom, there's a connection right there. And if it can help him out, that's what it's for. The meat and potatoes of this group is. You know what I mean? So I'm glad you brought that up, and that's exactly what I want to strive for. I don't want to neglect anybody. You know what I mean? At our first meeting, we had a speaker. He's met and hung out with politicians. He's a doctor. He's an amazing guy, great speaker. He does great charity work, helps the veterans. And then we have somebody that was just fresh out of being locked up. He told his story. And
He's still people, with the same background that he was. Yeah, so it's
exactly. So I want all ends of the spectrum to be here. And I don't want to exclude anybody. Even though, it's a tough topic to talk about, and maybe we'll talk about it later on, or, what is defining a man, or, things of that nature. But starting this, I've had a lot of positive feedback from, I want to say, straight males. But I don't want it only to be straight males. I want males that are, whatever their sexuality preferences or whatever it is, to feel comfortable coming to this group as well. I want it to be open and available to everybody because I don't judge people by what they do, behind closed doors or whatever, their preferences or anything like that. I judge them who they are with me and how they treat other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't care what they do for a living. I don't care where they came from or, how they got here. As long as you're a good person, you're good to me, you're good to the people that I know and the people around you, that's all that matters to me. You know what I mean? And I think that's the goal to the empowerment stage. I'm empowering people. I want people to be empowered to be able to be them true selves and not have to feel like they're under a microscope or they're being judged. You know what I mean? And that'd be a good segue into, what is a man? We define as male masculinity or the definition of being a man is, you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean that I guess those are. I mean, I love like you said that everyone is welcome. I know that's something we talked about. It's a very touchy subject. So yeah, I love how the decision was to just let everybody in, all the men. We're all equal, right? Men, men are created equal, right? This is that. But yeah, I love that. Like I said, but all the other, subjects about, what is a real man, what is a man meant to be. I mean, obviously, we can go hours and hours to talk about that, which we will.
So disclaimer, we're
Yeah, this is just like I said, this one here was to get us going.
we're gonna be real. We're gonna be real in our future conversation.
Yeah.
One thing we do in our meetings is I don't allow phones or recording devices in our meetings. there's a purpose for that. I want people to be their true, authentic self.
Yeah.
I want them to be able to talk how they want, as long as they're not disrespecting anybody.
Yeah.
I want them to be able to, if you use cuss words and every other word, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to tell you, hey, who taught you how to talk, you know? If you want
As long as they show the respect to others, that's fine.
absolutely. Now, mind you, a lot of my ideas and opinions won't match yours. A lot of yours may not match mine. And out there to the regular population, a lot of the stuff we may talk about not be what other people think. And that's okay. That's what makes us individuals. But I do want people to know that that's another main purpose of EMT. I don't want men to feel scared or judged when they want to be their true self. I want people, I think these days we need to be happy with who we are, happy with your mantras, the way you live your life, how you treat people, and not have to be worried about somebody talking behind your back or somebody judging you or not liking a thing you said or a thing you did. I want people to be able to feel comfortable in being who they are in their skin as a man. You know what I mean? And these days, it's extremely, it's tough to do that. You know what I mean? I don't know if you felt it. I mean, you were raised about a bunch of women.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess, I mean, all of these things that we're talking about, I mean, we definitely on the next podcast, we'll go into really deep all the, you know, what it really is to be a man. What do we think as a man? What does society think is a man? I mean, just all the, we'll get really deep conversation, but I think, we can save this for the next one. We don't want to, do everything on this one. But I think, I think I was going to say you, but I think we really have something good here. I mean, it started with you, obviously, you're the owner and founder, and then myself and Coach is the co-founder, but like I said, we're here to support you all the way across, all the way through.
And it always irks me when you call me the owner or founder. Like, I honestly, I couldn't do this without you, with you and Rich. Um, the idea, yeah, it was an idea, but I mean, just like this right here, you said all this stuff. You know what I mean? You did this. I wouldn't have done all this. You know, you guys keep coming to me with ideas, and I'm down for all of them. And um, so I think we're doing this together. We started from the ground up. Um, it was an idea of mine. Like you said, you had the idea too.
Paper and it's going to happen.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why when you say that, I think we're all co-founders of this. You know what I mean? And like I said, when it comes down to a specific category, like I'm not a therapist. I'm not. When it comes to EMT, this ain't me. It doesn't define me. It's more than that. It's all you guys. You know what I mean?
But this is a great example, right? I mean, even we need to not only talk the talk and walk the walk, right? If we want to show people that we can do it and not afraid to do it, right? This is our very first podcast. We have lights, we have this.
Yeah.
This is something we just made up, right? We're not only talking the talk, we're walking the walk. We don't know where this is gonna go. We're just hey, just sharpen by motivation. That even if you don't know what you're doing, just do it. Right?
Yeah, and I think I see big things. I know a lot of people like yourself, a lot of other people that are that have been coming, has been part of this. Their eyes light up and they have big ideas for it, and I'm all for it. Like, I'm all for it. As long as it's positive and we're moving in the right direction and we're doing big things for the community and each other and stuff like that. Like, that's what I want it to be. I don't want it to be. First off, I didn't want it to be a one and done. I didn't want to have one meeting and be like, oh, that was good. It was successful, and that's it. You know what I mean? I want this to be something next year, 2 years from now, 5, 10 years from now. Who knows how big it will be? Maybe we'll have other branches off in different cities and states or stuff like that people take on with it and run with it. But yeah, I think, like you said, it's a good thing. I'm excited. It's so far it's been really fun. Just coming up with the ideas ever since we got to start. I started watching some podcasts and following some certain people that have this type of thing going on. And a lot of them that I see are more working out, which is awesome. And that's a little part of I think being a man and empowering man is taking care of your health and fitness. I always say if you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of the ones around you. You know what I mean? But that again, going back to categorizing it, I didn't want to categorize this as a health and fitness group either. That would turn a lot of people off. Not everybody's into working out and stuff like that. Or not all of us are gym bros like you. You know what I mean? Trying to catch up to work on 3 days. Trying to catch up to you, man. Trying to catch up to you. Seeing these other groups that are established and that have something sort of this nature, I think we differentiate because it is open to everybody and everything is just not categorized. And it's not just about working out, you know what I mean? But I know that we'll have some times where we meet up and those that want to, throw down and get some weights going and stuff like that. That's something that we will plan and do. But I see a big future for it. A lot of things we could do, a lot of events, giving back to the community, helping each other out, Christmas time, the holidays, coming, volunteering, a lot of that good stuff,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's going to fill that need in myself to give back, you know what I mean? It's just the type of person that I know you are, the type of person that I am. A lot of people are my judges because, oh, you're doing this just for the clicks or the likes or whatever. But it's not. To be honest, I've been doing a lot of this stuff individually by myself, whether it's on my regular job where I do a lot of volunteer work. It's just I love to do it. I came from rock bottom. I've been homeless. I've been, I tried to find food in trash cans, just find somewhere to eat. Squatting in homes, not knowing where I'm going to live at, and things of that nature, being addicted to drugs and stuff like that. So now that I'm at where I'm at now, if I was a millionaire, man, I would give it all. I would be broke real quick because I would give it all back to the people that don't have stuff. That's the way I am. My last penny would go to that person that, I see in the street that, doesn't have anything, stuff like that, because I've been there. I know the struggle. A lot of them, there's all different type of situations and circumstances that get them there. But we're all on this earth together and we're all just trying to survive. You know what I mean? And if I can help somebody, if I can help manage just, a day to get by and put a smile on their face, that's what makes me feel good. You know what I mean?
Just to get back on that before we end this podcast, this is my wife's. Her saying is her goal in life is to help 1 million people. Right? 1 million people in life, and I'm pretty sure she's helped a lot. I mean, not a million, but that's her goal in life. And I mean, I think that's just something great to live by. Every time she says that, I'm like, that's amazing. So I think that's something that we all look forward to. You never know. Even if you don't reach a million, at least you're helping. You're getting. I think this group is going to lead us the way to get close to that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just want to affect. I don't have a goal, but if I want people, when they meet me or they leave me, they're like, man, that was a cool dude. That was a good guy. Like, he had no bad intentions. He was not, he was real. He was real. He spoke his truth.
Yeah,
Just being real. So, I think we're going to be closing it up now.
Yeah, I think. I think that's this
First run.
I think the good first run. We probably stumbled a few times, but it's okay.
Future.
On the next one we have Rich. I call him Coach. But he'll be with us. Coach Rich. He'll be with us, and we'll look forward to talking to you guys again next podcast. We'll try to go a little deeper on certain categories. But yeah,
This is cool.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
Excited, man.
Excited.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting. Some good times. We'll try out hopefully some good, interesting content. You know what I mean? We'll keep it moving. Get as many people as involved. Help as much people as we can, and just keep it going, man. Shoulders back, heads up, all the way through. All right.